Bolt your windows. Lock your doors. Check your closets. Look under your bed. And then prepare yourself. For it's another episode of Dark Knight of the Podcast. Whoa!
Dark Knight of the podcast, friends, family, cohorts, companions. After the last week I've had, there's only been one thing on my mind. I gotta admit, it's your heart. It's alive, pumping blood. It's your heart. It's alive. It's pumping blood. And the whole wide world is whistling. Boop, 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 boop. Troy, when I tell you, that last week's episode has had a lasting impact, I have not stopped listening to No No No's Pumping Blood since I watched Christie again. And I can't think of the last time that a song in a film has impacted me so much. I've gone back to listen to that episode, Christy, multiple times, and it has gotten me hooked on that song. For that reason alone, I am so thankful we covered that film. Listeners, I hope you feel us. Troy, do you ever listen to our episodes on repeat? Because sometimes I get caught up on an episode, and last week was such a fun one for me that I have been just kind of listening to it on loop.
I do listen to our episodes. A lot of our older episodes I listen to because I literally we're barreling, Roger,
Barely.
towards 200 episodes. And I will like be scrolling through our podcast feed and I will be like, "Wait, I do not remember us covering this movie. Like we covered that?" And I'll listen to it and of course they're all gold. All of our episodes are great. Pat both of us on the back here because some of our episodes are really fun, and yeah, I do revisit them probably more often than I should. But they're fun. They're fun. I just listened to the Motel Hell episode not too long ago. And yeah, I just have fun with our episodes. And I feel like this episode, Roger, is going to be one that is going to be on repeat for a lot of people.
Oh, that's what I'm hoping. I mean, for completely different reasons. Christie was a film that I feel like I rediscovered in a way, and revisiting that was such a good time, and talking about Christie with you was such a good time, and talking with our listeners about Christie has been a really a fun experience as well, because I love when you all get interactive with us. So please, like, join in the conversations, if you will. But this is going to be entertaining for a whole other reason. Uh, I mean, I'm surprised in a way that we have waited 182 episodes to get to this fucking nonsense. But we're here. Like we're at that point in the journey. It's like at that point in like a grand epic tale in which two knights have to face off against a dark, menacing, maniacal demon or a fucking dragon. We're at that dragon, and that dragon comes in a rare form. Troy, you picked this title. I know why. But I also question it. But like, yeah, Troy, why don't you just tell the listeners what what treat we have in store for them today?
Well, guys, blame former guest co-host Chris Archesky because he is the one that put this seed in my head to cover this film. We had to cover a Christmas film. Christmas, guys, is next
Yeah,
week.
yeah.
What type of horror podcast would we be if we did not choose a Christmas themed horror film? And we've already covered part one. We've already covered part two. That fucking nonsense. We're just barreling towards part three, and here we are. We are covering Silent Night, Deadly Night 3. Better watch out.
God damn it. We're here. It makes sense. Like I said, it's Christmas. You got to do it eventually. Like we're gonna have to do Troll 2 eventually. And I think it's one of those titles you just put off. Um, I don't know. I thought this film was so much more fun than what it is. I don't know, it's gonna be a rough conversation. I'm in a weird place with this movie. There's parts of it that I find kind of endearing, as you do with a low budget horror production, but there's other choices that were made about this film that
Mhm.
were just so bad. So bad, and I did read up on it a little bit. the script was written in a week after they had to toss the first draft. They just wrote the script in a week, and I think that really shows. There's so many flaws, there's so many issues at play here, but I don't think we've ever covered a film that so I mean, I guess unintentionally, I don't know, like drifts in the sense of narrative, in the sense of the stories that came before it. This movie feels so disconnected. I have never seen a movie that is technically tied to the movies that came prior, but just feels so removed from those events. And it's just very jarring, Troy. This movie it's really not like any other sequel I can think of. There are some sequels that intentionally just tell a completely different story, but this one is not trying to. But the elements that carry over from the films prior could really get swapped out and replaced with any holiday, any other individuals, any other people involved, and it really wouldn't matter. And I just think it's such a hard watch as somebody who enjoys the first entry in the series. The second one is bad, but it's funny, but this just really it kinda left me scratching my head and just feeling really disappointed. I don't know. So I think this is gonna be a really interesting dialogue because I think there's a lot of people out there who have some strange kinda love for this film. I couldn't muster it though. And I'm curious, like, where do you come in? Like, what's your angle on this movie? Are you like a secret fan? How do you feel about Silent Night, Deadly Night 3?
So it's a bad movie, let's be honest. I think there are a lot of glaring issues and mistakes that the film makes, and I really love the fact that you mentioned that it really does feel so disconnected from the previous 2 films, and the first the major issue, this film suffers from is what they choose to do with the antagonist, the Ricky character. It's a completely different actor, and it's Bill Moseley, who we love Bill Moseley, the fucking
Yeah.
horror legend, just not in this role. Like, it looks nothing like the Ricky from Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 2.
No.
The choice they make to put him in a coma and have him stumbling around the fucking movie in a hospital robe the whole time, is odd. That fucking fishbowl, salad bowl on his head, what the fuck is that? The script gets things wrong, like, from the previous films, like, I don't know if you've caught it, but they say things that are blatantly wrong. And the fact that the female protagonist, is an unlikable bitch.
Mhm.
I don't care if you're blind or not, you're a fucking cunt, and I could give a shit less what happens to your blind ass. That was an issue. But,
Yeah.
like, why is she's having flashbacks that are supposed to be connected to Ricky, but all of her flashbacks are of Billy. It makes no fucking sense. But okay, gripes aside, I'm just gonna say this. I don't think, like, this movie is as abysmal as some people would, make you believe. I think it takes a long time to get going. Like, oh my god, the first 25 minutes of this film, I'm like, "Jesus, can we get out of this white hospital room and do something?" But I will say, I find once the characters get to the grandmother's house, and some of the stalking and stuff happens, I do find it to be a little bit interesting. Um, but I mean, ugh, there's just a lot to say about this, and I think we should just dive right in and not leave our listeners in suspense with this one. I wanna say, guys, it's Christmas next week. We are still looking for our next five-star review on Apple Podcasts. Let's get it done. Ho, ho, ho.
Let's get it fucking done, you hoes. Because daddy and daddy want something nice for Christmas. At this point, we're going to just straight up ask for it, and we're going to give you something nice in return. We've already discussed that the last episode. If you can't remember, it's all the more reason to go back and listen to Christy again, as I have been doing. This episode is going to be, guys, it's going to be a bitchin' good time, but I got a lot of complaints. I'm gonna try to enter in on a positive note because the sun always comes out tomorrow, in the words of Annie, and I always try to look for something positive. I call it a gift in the problem. I think that Silent Night, Deadly Night 3 is a problem. But I do also feel that there are a couple of good things to take away, as you mentioned. For me, one thing I just want to celebrate to start, like, let's hear it for the lazy-eyed fellas, Bill Moseley. Let's hear it for some lazy-eye representation. I'm gonna say it right now. I don't know if y'all know this. Troy, I don't know if you're aware. I have a lazy eye. Troy's like, "Oh, we know, girl." But I've got a lazy eye. And you know what I don't see very often is other lazy-eyed individuals in films. Often ever. I'm very weird about my lazy eye. I had it surgically reconstructed twice, and this is what we got. But it's nowhere near as bad as Bill Moseley's. But I did say, I was like, you know what? It's nice to see someone else with a severely lazy eye. Yes, he's a bullheaded freak whose brain is exposed in a punch bowl. But I was just happy to see that. So I want to say thank you to Bill Moseley and the creative team behind Silent Night, Deadly Night 3 for at least thinking to give him a lazy eye. It's not important. It doesn't make sense considering he's supposed to be Ricky from the first film. But like you said a moment ago, Troy, nothing about him feels like Ricky from the second film, the sequel. I beg your pardon on that. Nothing feels like Ricky at all. And I can deal with a physical replacement of an actor if they at least tap into the soul of the character, if they get the mannerisms down, the personality, if they carry certain quirks over. But because Ricky apparently suffered such a severe head trauma, apparently it's changed his personality so much. I mean, he's a walking vegetable. He's a vegetable the whole time, but he starts walking. He has all but one line. What a line is it? Oh boy. And he's just there's nothing about him whatsoever that replicates anything that Ricky was in the second film. So I'm just confused as to why they said this movie needs to be a Silent Night, Deadly Night film. I feel like someone had a script concept that was real loose, and in like the 11th hour, last minute, out of desperation, they were like, let's just use this for Silent Night, Deadly Night 3. We'll put some Santa costumes in there. We'll put some lights around the windows, and we'll just use some of the names. And other than that, like I question whether or not the team behind this even watched the first and second film. I don't think they did. I don't think anyone involved in this movie had seen the film that came before it because it feels so shockingly distant from it.
I was thinking the same thing. Did they even watch the film? I mean, I appreciate they show clips from the first film. They don't rely on it as heavily as part two did. 90% of part two is clips from the first film. But yeah, yeah. So we're gonna get into Silent Night, Deadly Night 3. Buckle up here. Uh, if you can get through the I'm gonna say, if you can get through the first 25 minutes of this film, bless your fucking heart,
Oh.
because oh my god. So the film opens, Roger, with the longest shot in cinematic history of somebody sleeping. Uh, I kept looking at my watch, like, you see this broad laying on a table sleeping. I'm like, what's gonna happen? What's gonna happen? It's the protagonist Laura, and she's wearing that fucking Taylor Dane outfit, Roger, that 80s fucking ensemble looking like stepping out of a Taylor Dane video.
You know, I met Taylor Dane.
I
You know
know.
that? I met Taylor Dane. Listeners, let me take you on a quick story real quick. We're gonna sidestep here for a moment. It was Pride 2012, 13 maybe. I was working for American Limousine in Cleveland, Ohio. We were helping the Pride event transport their talent, their entertainers, as you do. And who was performing that year? But fucking Taylor Dane. And you know who fucking loves Taylor Dane? My very best friend Teresa Padone. We sit and watch Taylor Dane music videos all the time. And I'll say it right now. As soon as we found out, we said, "Can we meet her?" And they're like, "We'll make it happen." I met her. I've never met an angrier woman. This tiny 5'2" max in heels in a leather fucking mini skirt comes out. She's like, "Let's get it over with." And she comes out and she's just miserable. But she came out there and she sang all the hits. Tell it to my heart. Tell me I'm the only one. And she was fucking kicking it up. Her and a bad background recording. But you know what? She got it done. I met Taylor Dane. Let's get back to the storyline, if you will. I thought it looked very Jenny Garth. I thought this looked very first season 90210. And to tell me this gal don't look like Jennifer Connelly.
She does look like Jennifer Connelly, yes. You hit the nail on the head there. Whatever, 90s ensemble, late 80s ensemble. Well, this film was filmed in the 80s, so that's why my mind went to Taylor Dane. The video, you know what? The video I'm talking about, where she's wearing an ensemble just like this, and she keeps stepping into the camera with her big old crimped hair. Is
Oh,
that
she has
Tell It to
7
My
wigs
Heart,
on.
or is that Don't
Tell
Rush
it to
to My?
my heart.
Yeah,
Don't rush. Oh my god.
Taylor
Every
Dane has
single
some
one a
bops.
hit.
I know, I know.
Fucking 5 top 10 singles. I maybe
Love
more,
it.
but I'm pretty confident 5 of them. Go
Love
listen to them,
will
listeners.
lead you back one day. All right. Anyway,
Oh my god.
how much more entertaining would this podcast be if we just talk about Taylor Dane for 2 hours?
I mean, I'm saying this episode, the most
Oh.
entertaining thing about it was me singing at the beginning, because this is about to get
Okay.
real boring. There's a lot of driving in this one, guys.
So there is, yeah. So she's laying on the hospital bed. She finally fucking wakes up in this sterile white room. Like it's so fucking white. There's just some random guy laying next to her with that fucking punch bowl on his head. And we are supposed to believe that this is Ricky from part 2. Problem is, and as I mentioned, this looks nothing like the character of Ricky. Bill Moseley, I know it's supposed to be like 6 years later, but Bill Moseley looks like he's about twice the age of Ricky was. And what is the deal with this punch bowl on his head? Like, I know they say, oh, he got his brain, half his head blown off, and we had to like reconstruct it. But or did the filmmakers really think that this was like scary or a good visual? Because it really just looks fucking stupid.
I mean, like, I'm gonna try to give him some credit for like a really big swing. It's a big swing, but it's just such a departure already. Lest we forget, first film to second film, the downgrade from Billy to Ricky is a big one. So it's not like everyone's really yearning, really chomping at the bit to hear what happened to Ricky. I'm like, bring back the fucking hot one. Bring back Billy from the first movie. Let's get some more of him. He's dead, but I don't know if this guy could survive. I'm sure there's a way they could bring Billy back into play. But we get the downgraded brother. And already that was not a performance that people were like, let's continue this. So switching the actor makes sense, but he is a mute person. Like, this guy, not only does he not look anything like Ricky from the first or the second film, I keep saying the first, but from the sequel at all, it's just like there's nothing at all that they allow Bill Moseley to like replicate from. What was his name? Was it Eric Friesen or Eric
Eric Freeman.
Freeman? Eric Freeman. That's what it was. Eric Freeman's performance, like, for as weird and big and over the top as some of the choices were, garbage day. Like, I don't know, for another actor stepping into that role, if they would have given him some of that material to be able to recreate, maybe Bill Moseley could have like convinced me in another world. But instead, they turned this man into like a freak. Like, this man, nobody would look like this at all. Like, the things that they do to this guy are so absurd.
Well, Ricky, at least in the second film, had personality. Like, he had personality. This, again, Bill Moseley's Ricky just saunters and stumbles around through the whole movie. There's not a hint of any sort of personality, reaction, nothing. And this whole opening with this forced psychic connection thing, I could have done without that too. I do not need a psychic secondary subplot in a Silent Night, Deadly Night film. That's not what I'm coming into this for. So when this girl, Laura, wakes up and she goes over to Ricky and he's laying there and she's smiling at him and touching him, and then he raises that scalpel at her and she screams and runs out. This whole thing is so awkward. He gets up and he whispers, Laura. And she runs down the hall and then she ends up running right into him. So right now we're already being clued in that this is just probably a dream sequence, because there's no way he got to the end of the hallway. And then she goes into opens a room, and then he's there and the walls are all bloody and he's holding a bloody scalpel. And then she runs out of that room and we see a Santa Claus, a guy in a Santa Claus costume, like, motion her into a room, and she goes into a Santa Claus. Oh, let's not forget the part where when she runs into him in the hallway, Roger, he grabs her arm and slices it with a scalpel. Blood's everywhere, but then that's the wound is not there. In this, like, she runs down the hall, there's no wound. She gets to the Santa Claus, there's no wound. When she sits in the Santa Claus's lap, this is a whole like mall Santa Claus setup. She sits in his lap and she says, and I quote, "I want a Barbie doll and a bicycle and roller skates and ballet shoes and a Mickey Mouse watch. And it's like, bitch, you were 35 years old. And how are you reverting into like a child like personality when you were just running down the hallway for your life because this man was trying to kill you with a scalpel? Right?
Right.
Makes zero sense. Well, then the Santa Claus, who is not Ricky, just some guy in a Santa, raises a knife and she screams, wakes up screaming. And I think we just condense this first 25 minutes as much as possible, Roger, because it is a bunch of fucking nonsense. This Dr. Newberry is trying to basically force her to have a like psychic. So apparently she's psychic. Okay. And he is doing this experiment where he's using her because she's psychic and he's trying to force her to have a connection with Ricky so that she can get into Ricky's mind so that he can find out what's going on in Ricky's mind as an attempt to try to, as he says later on in the film, use Ricky to stop other people from killing.
The storyline here is so bad and it's so stupid. And like, I don't mind a bit of a flight of fancy, if you will, but it's got to have somewhat of intentionality, a reasonable motivation behind like making that shift into something fantastical. I need to buy into it. There's got to be something that I'm like, oh, this makes sense in the great scheme of things in this universe. I can accept that there's something elevated here, you know? But Silent Night, Deadly Night was never a series, in my opinion, that felt in like heightened world. It never felt, I mean, like, yes, what was absurd and kind of over the top comedic, like everything that happened, especially in the first film, but overall, it's so rooted in reality. It's very much average, everyday people who are encountering, Billy and who become his target and fall victim to him, and then his brother. It never ever even strayed into something that I felt could or would or should maybe entertain something fantastical. And so when you make the shift here, they're not doing it for the sake of the story. Like it really doesn't feel like they have the characters in mind. They don't care about this product. The team behind this, I don't think cared whatsoever about Silent Night, Deadly Night, and the events that transpired before this. I think these are creatives that wanted to make a fantastical film, and they were able to get their hands on this specific property. So it feels so, again, jarring, making the shift into this fantastical world, and the explanation that she is psychic is, like, so heavy-handed because you have all of this banal, just boring doctor dialogue, and I know you said that once you get out of the hospital, it gets better, but I'm sorry, every time that you cut back to those 2 fucking men in that car, their dialogue is just as boring then as it is in all this nonsense, this mumbo jumbo they're talking about that really, like, I don't fucking know what any of this means, and then they start talking about rebuilding brains, and we haven't talked properly about the bowl yet. But like Ricky's head's in a bowl. It's in a big fucking bowl. His brain is exposed. It's full of liquid. It's very elaborate and it's very distracting and it's not scary. And like again, if you're going to incorporate a costume piece like that, if it makes sense, like, maybe, but this just feels so wrong. It does not feel right for the character. And so, yeah, I have a huge, huge issue with them making this pivot into this psychic territory because it doesn't do the story any justice. And like I said this earlier, but you could really pull these characters from this property out of this and just replace it with random characters. And it could have just been its own story and not needed the Silent Night, Deadly Night treatment. And so that's really, really disappointing that it makes this shift. Because from here on out, for the next 2 films, the movies only get more absurd with the fucking worms and the fucking cults and all that shit. Like this really took this property in a direction it did not need to go. And very poorly at that. The script is fucking horrible. It doesn't make a lick of sense. And their explanation that they would take a serial killer, a man who killed a shit ton of people, and for whatever reason choose to not only try to rebuild his brain, but then get this poor fucking blind gal involved, trying to make psychic links with him. Who comes up with this? Who? This Dr. Newberry? Like, how did he even think this is possible. I can't buy it. And so yeah, it starts on a bad foot and it never gets on track for me because I never buy into this fantastical.
I feel like the filmmakers did not realize that Ricky was the killer from part 2. They treat him like he is Billy, like with things
Yeah.
that they say, and this specific scene where basically he keeps every time she comes out of these sleeping spells she's in where she's having these visions, he keeps asking her like, "What did you see? Tell me about it." And she's very vague. She's like, "Oh, I just had a vision about Christmas or Santa." And he tells her, "You know what? I need you to go back under. Can you please try it again?" And she's like, "Anything for you, Dr. Newberry." Really sexy like. So he whispers into his recorder that he thinks that she could be making contact with him, but he also has a feeling that she's playing games with him. So again, he tells her, "I need you to go back to sleep. I'm going to need you to tell me what you see." And so she goes back to sleep, and now she has this whole vision of the opening scene from Silent Night, Deadly Night, the first film, where Ricky's and Billy's parents get killed. Now, here's the problem I have with this, and what how more proof that I think that they forgot Ricky's the killer from part 2 and not part 1 is because she's supposed to be making a psychic link with him, right? That's why that's how she's having these visions. Roger, Ricky was a fucking baby in a car seat. And everything that she is seeing happen, just like from the first film, is from the perspective of Billy. We see Billy run out of the car. We get the shot of Billy watching his mom be killed. It's not Ricky. So I really do believe that they were just fucking confused, that they forgot that Ricky was part 2 and not part 1 because it doesn't make sense because there's a line later in the film as well when the lieutenant says something along the lines of, "Oh, Ricky Caldwell, you mean the Santa Claus killer? He hacked up all these people with an axe." No, he didn't. Ricky did not kill one person in a Santa Claus suit, if we remember correctly. He put it on to go after a Mother Superior, but he was not the Santa Claus killer. That was Billy.
Well, and there's another moment, and it really caught my attention in the way this was approached. Towards the end, Laura has a vision of the Santa Claus approaching the kids on the playground, which obviously is a very important moment. Um, and he gets shot, and they show him drop, and it is in front of Ricky is at the orphanage from what I'm
Yes.
remembering, correct?
Yeah. Mhm.
So he drops, he's in front of Ricky, but Ricky's just like, "Oh god." She sits up screaming and she goes, "Ricky!" at the gunshot, and it just the fact that she would sit up screaming Ricky's name while I mean, Ricky saw the murder happen, but, like, he didn't get injured, he didn't get hurt in that moment, he just witnessed it. It sounds like she's responding to the individual being shot, Billy, and so I absolutely think you're right. There's several moments here that feel like they forgot Ricky's actual involvement in the initial storyline. Because even then, with the whole scene in the car, he's in the vehicle, in the baby carriage, or in the little car seat, but they never show it. They show Billy reacting. They show Billy running off and hiding in the shrubbery, watching the mother get raped again for a third time. This poor woman getting raped in 3 movies. We got to see it. This movie shows it again. So we see her breasts getting pulled out, her top getting ripped open. This poor woman, that's her claim to fame. And you see Billy watching from a distance, and you never see the baby. You never see, at least show the baby, make it clear that the baby's there, make it clear that this makes sense, that it's all connected. I absolutely think you're right with that assumption.
Yeah, I just don't think that they watched the films and really knew the source material. So she wakes up again hysterical, and all she can tell Dr. Newberry, she saw a scary Santa. And then she tells him she needs to go. Her brother's picking her up, and it's revealed that they are going to her grandmother's house in Pyro, which is, I guess it's this is and this takes place in California. I think the original film was not California, but whatever. We're fine. We get to see an orange grove in this Pyro. Um, when she leaves, she tells him that she does not want to do this anymore. And he reminds her, "Hey, I told you that when we started this procedure that was going to take a lot of courage, that coming to terms with your psychic abilities can be scary." And then he makes a comment, but he's like, "Oh, I also kinda knew that, someone your age probably wouldn't follow through with it." And she's like, "Well, no, it's not because I'm scared. I just don't wanna do it anymore, but we'll talk about it after the holidays." When she leaves, that fucking nurse or his assistants, the nurse asks the doctor, "Do you think she made contact?" And he says, "I think she's playing little girl games. I think she'll be back. She likes it. She loves it. She wants to penetrate his mind." What the fuck makes you think this? Has this girl shown any she wakes up screaming her fucking head off. How are you interpreting that as, "Oh, she likes it. She wants to do it. She wants to keep doing it."
The movie goes on. There's times where she's having visions and she starts like whimpering or screaming. It seems like it's torturing this fucking blind
But I
girl.
but I also feel like, I don't know, maybe it's just me. I don't know if it was the actress or just, like, the direction. I feel like this character is just very odd and acts inappropriately at certain things. Like, she'll smile, when somebody gets killed, or she's very nothing really seems to bother her. Even when her brother gets killed, she's kinda smirking. It's real weird. I'm trying to figure out, like, what this character's deal is, because yes, she's blind, yes, she's psychic, but this is one of the oddest, like, protagonist females I've seen in a film. Just her reactions to things are inconsistent. And it's just real weird. Like, sometimes, she's supposed to be blind, but sometimes she knows exactly where something is, or she knows something's missing. It's like, is that your psychic abilities telling what's going on here? But she's also kind of a bitch. Like,
She
it's
is.
really hard to warm up to her the way she treats, especially Chris's girlfriend, who we will get to her in a minute. But we have this whole scene, this receptionist, Roger. If we ever do a remake, you're playing this fucking bitchy ass receptionist sitting at this desk.
This old fucking windbag, this old hag, just sitting there fucking judging this blind girl. And, there's something to be said about having a blind protagonist in a film like this that I think could be a really awesome angle to come from. None of these decisions at the end of the film feel inspired. I would love to have seen this be something that motivated her to overcome her anger because they talk about, that there was a plane accident, and I don't think she was born blind. Like it's implied that this is something that developed, likely due to this incident, and so she has a lot of anger, and I'm thinking here, like, I'm gonna get something empowering. Like, I'm gonna see this girl overcome this, and, between that and her psychic abilities, she's gonna find it within herself to muster the strength to defeat this evil force. That's what I think I'm getting in store for here, and you barely get a lick of that. Like, really, she's just kinda waddling around, running into the darkness, failing to defend herself. It doesn't become her shield, and you really want, if they're gonna make a decision like this, you want that to be something that she can wield for herself and use it as a strength, and this movie doesn't give her that. Both her blindness and really her psychic abilities are kind of like her downfall. All they do is draw him to her. She talks to her grandma a little bit, but really, she doesn't get to do much, and so if you're gonna bring these character traits in, these definitive character traits for this girl, like, let them be a strength, and I just don't think either of these major elements are ever played up nearly as much as they should be for being such major aspects of who she is. The thing you get the most more than anything is her anger, and you do see that, towards the character of Jerry, and just overall, she's really bitchy, and it kinda makes sense why she would be, but they never let her evolve beyond that or grow from it. I do think though, like, for all of her flaws, I really think the Doctor, I think Newbury is the worst written character here because he has all of these big, like, speeches and monologues, and he's always talking with the nurse or talking and later on with the lieutenant, these big, like, wordy bits of things that don't really make any sense. Like, I don't know what kind of doctor he is. I don't know what it is that he does. I don't know how he learned the things he knows, and they try to just explain it away with all of this banter, and it's always just really bloated and nonsensical and wordier than it needs to be, and I really think his character is just boring and, like, unpleasant, and I just wish he wasn't such a big focus, but he ends up being, like, the secondary lead in a way.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, this receptionist, poor Laura asks the receptionist if, if she can let her know when her brother gets here. And this receptionist's like, "I'm very busy, miss." And Laura says, "Well, if you see a red Jeep pull up, can you at least let me know? I'll do my best." And Laura calls her a bitch underneath her breath as she walks away, which I'm all for. She was kind of a bitch. Why are you going to be so mean and short with this poor blind girl? You can see she's blind because she has her cane.
"Do your job, bitch. Do
Yeah,
your
yeah.
job."
She goes to sit next to this couple with a baby. They get called back into a room, and I'm assuming she falls asleep again or falls into a trance because she has a vision basically of her getting up and going over to the receptionist and being like, "Excuse me, miss?" Miss, and the receptionist doesn't answer. And Laura reaches out to her and touches her, and she's like, we see a vision of the receptionist now in the chair with her throat slit, blood everywhere. For some reason, Laura touches the blood and slaps it on her face and starts screaming. And that's when the Michael Bolton motherfucker shows up, her brother, to wake her up and get her. And this is her brother, Chris. And as he's leading her out, the receptionist is like, "Merry Christmas." She says, "Not for you." Now, here's the thing. If what makes it okay, I understand the receptionist is a bitch. I get it. I get it. But if you're psychic and you just saw a vision of this woman being murdered and you know that she's going to be murdered because I'm assuming that's why she says not for you. You are a total fucking horrible person. Why didn't you warn this lady? L- Go home now so you don't have your throat slit later. She just leaves knowing this poor woman's going to have her throat slit.
Beyond that, like, if you're having a psychic moment where you're seeing anyone getting their throat slit, wouldn't you wanna explore that further? Because she's at this hospital regularly. She's there doing this testing with Dr. Newbury on a regular basis because she's always bringing him goddamn fucking oranges, which he keeps talking about, them oranges. So I just don't understand why she wouldn't think this is a bigger to do. This is a situation. This gal's about to get her throat cut here. Maybe I should use my psychic abilities and figure out the bigger picture instead of just like brushing it off and leaving. Also, let's talk about Chris for a moment. Let's talk about Chris with the tumbling golden locks, these tresses, like these fucking sausage curls that this man has. The guy's not a homely guy. The guy, if you look at his face, he's actually quite handsome. But then you throw these goddamn Goldilocks fucking curls on him, and you set him into this fucking cabin with bears and porridge, and 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 it takes all the seriousness out of the moment. This guy really at times looks like a young woman from behind, and then he turns around and it's her hairy brother in a fucking Canadian tuxedo wearing nothing but denim. And yeah, this guy, I just am curious. I get it was like 1989, but I just can't imagine in any era someone saying, "This is the look, this is the hair that this guy should have for this film." It seems like such a strange choice. But in a film full of strange choices, like, is it really the biggest issue? No. After a while, I kind of appreciated his long, tumbling golden locks. So I don't know. It sets him apart from any other man we've seen
Oh my
on
god,
Dark Knight
yeah,
the
he
Podcast.
definitely is a very memorable looking character, and we do get to see his hairy chest in the bathtub here later, but when he takes her outside, he does tell her that he is bringing the girl that he's been seeing to Granny's with them, so they're gonna go pick her up, and that they need to get an early start, they need to try to be on the road by 2, and that she reminds him, "Wait, no, I have my shrink appointment at 3." What the fuck are you making appointments at 3 o'clock on Christmas Eve for? Because it is Christmas Eve. You couldn't have scheduled this for any other day. But anyways, he's like, "Oh, okay, then we leave after 3 P brain." And they try to make these 2 have cute little moments together, which I guess are effective. Like she's like, "Do you know how a pea brain gets off?" And she like does that little thing with her belt buckle, or she's jerking her belt buckle off. And I guess do I buy them as brother and sister?
I'd say compared to the other relationships in the film, he's probably the most likable character in
Yeah.
her orbit. He seems to genuinely care about her. In fact, there's a few moments where it almost feels a little too close for brother and sister. He seems to really fucking care about her. But I guess if you have a blind sister, you're going to be wanting to make sure
Well,
she's okay. You're going to
well,
want to take care of her.
well, here's the thing, Roger. You going off of what you said. He certainly picked a girlfriend that looks exactly like his fucking sister, didn't he?
Oh my god, Troy, when I saw this moment, and I don't even know if this is the next scene, but I gotta say, when I saw this moment of fucking Chris and Jerry descending the staircase at rapid speed, I said, "Fine girl, sure seems comfortable on that fucking staircase. She's moving like the Dickens." And it wasn't until she walked up and shook Laura's hand at that car that I said, "That's a different fucking female." I just thought they put a new outfit on her and some lipstick. That's the only thing that I can differentiate between Jerry and Laura. It's the fucking red lipstick. It's the only thing that they have that makes them look different. It's so weird that they look so
They
similar.
they very much look similar, and so going off of what you're saying, because I got some of that vibes too, that, "Hey, this is kinda weird for brother and sister," like, and then knowing that he has a girlfriend that looks exactly like his sister, do you think that's a coincidence? I don't know, but here we go, back at the hospital, I have a problem with this hospital security, Roger, and the fact that there is no security at this hospital, because somehow there is a random drunk guy in a Santa Claus, outfit walking through the hospital, going in and out of patients' rooms. That's a problem. That's a problem. He gets into Ricky's room, nobody's attending it, and he starts taunting Ricky about being a vegetable and making all these jokes. And somehow, I guess, because he has this connection with, Laura, and now she's thinking about him, and she's leaving. He comes out of this coma and he gets up and he kills the Santa. We don't see it. We get the awkward Santa being like, "No, no, no," and we don't see anything. Now, here is the thing. Fuck. If you wanted to make this a Silent Night, Deadly Night movie, all you had to do was have Ricky pick up that fucking Santa Claus costume and put it on.
Like, how dare they? Like, how dare they not put him in that goddamn fucking Santa Claus costume? It's right there. You're gonna give that whole setup, which we've seen in every Santa Claus killer film ever, by the way. Like, this is practically beat for beat the exact same scene that we've seen in the Black Christmas remake. I mean, every film has a random drunk Santa who happens to be visiting some space, some event, some school, some hospital. I don't know. In this case, it's a fucking hospital, walking around drinking, hitting on women, as you do, dressed as a Santa. And then it's just such a prime scene to not only bestow upon him the expected, the anticipated Santa Claus uniform, beard and all, but also like it is prime territory for a great kill scene. And this here starts a truly unfortunate trend that carries through the entire film, in which they choose to cut away from the kill and show literally nothing. They don't show anything. They cut away from, I believe it's every kill in this film, aside from a lame ass choking sequence. They cut away from everything. They choose to not show anything except for like an occasional reveal of like that old gal with her throat cut. There are so many moments here where this film is structured, set up, ready to go, ready to be the slasher that we're all anticipating, and they never go through with it. And it is infuriating. It is so frustrating. You've got expectations here. It ain't much. All I need is someone in a Santa Claus costume for a period of time. Minutes. They gave it to us for minutes in the second film, and I still accept it. Here, you don't get it fucking at all. And it fills me with so much rage. It makes me so mad. Flames on the side of my face. Troy, you hit it. You hit my nerve with this because it's structured for it, and they don't go through with it.
Well, and the problem is, like, we're supposed to believe that this man, with this hospital gown, salad bowl on his head, is just able to walk out of the hospital and walk down the highway, and nobody is batting an eye. If you wanted to make it realistic, it would have been he puts on the Santa Claus costume as to disguise himself from being this bullheaded motherfucker, but he doesn't. He kills the Santa Claus, and yeah, he basically goes down to the receptionist, and she's opening letters with that scalpel, and she sets it down, and his POV, he walks up to her. She's like, "Can I help you?" And then she just starts screaming bloody murder, and you cut away, but then you cut back and you do see that her throat is slit. But then he just walks outside. Does anybody else work at this hospital? Like, where's security? Where's anybody that this man could just walk out the front door?
It ain't just him walking out of the hospital. There's that shot of him walking along the freeway and in a fucking hospital gown with a massive bowl on his head. That's the problem. It's like a hospital gown already. I'm like, I ain't going near that, but I'm definitely calling the police. The exposed brain, there's no way you're not seeing that. There's a point later in the film where he gets picked up by a man in a truck. I'm sorry, you're telling me that you're gonna pull over and pick up this ghostly, lanky, skeleton-looking man with a bowl on his head and an exposed brain, you're gonna pick him up and not think you're gonna get killed? Like, why are people doing what they're doing at all in this movie? It makes no sense, not a single decision here. None of their choices feel like they're motivated by a human being. It doesn't make any sense at all. So yeah, it's very upsetting that this guy can get up. It's upsetting that the woman sitting there, the secretary, would turn to him and say, "Can I help you?" If I saw this man get up out of a coma after years with a bowl on his head, I'd be like, "Oh my God, like somebody come assist me." I wouldn't ask if I could help him. He's a fucking vegetable. He's been in a coma for years. He shouldn't be walking around in general. I don't know, Troy. Ooh, this is
It's
going to be a really lively one. Can you
so many
tell?
stupid. Yeah, I don't understand why people keep helping him. Like, I have that note. They pick him up. He's
The
hitchhiking. People pick
grandma?
the grandma. We're gonna get there because that's another fucking decision. Because isn't that
Oh
old
my,
bitch supposed to be psychic? Here, okay.
exactly.
We
Not in
have a
this
whole
case.
no. We have a whole thing. Okay, so Laura is at her shrink appointment, and this is where it's revealed that yes, her parents were killed in a plane crash, and that she does have visions, and her grandma told her basically that she has visions because all of our thoughts are just pieces of one big thought, and we only think about the little pieces, and sometimes we are thinking about the same little pieces as someone else so that we can see what they're thinking. And he tells her, you know what, you need to let go of your anger, let people help you, and she's like, I just want to be normal, doctor. Am I ever going to be normal? And the doctor turns around in the chair and it reveals it's Ricky. And he says, no one is normal. And she screams, like, what the fuck is this? So she's having, okay, she has a vision of Ricky in her therapist's office. Okay. And now we do cut to Chris bringing Jerry down to introduce her to Laura. Jerry does reach out her hand to shake Laura's hand, and Laura says, "I don't shake on the first date." Jerry says, "Okay, well, Chris told me you're psychic." And Laura's like, "Well, Chris told me you give great head."
God, the animosity, which, like, again, I can accept it. She's bitter and she's blind and she's mad about it. Okay, but this doesn't feel like a movie that's really sensitive to any people who are handicapped whatsoever. In fact, like the way that Jerry just turns around in the car and she says, "So, Laura, you're handicapped. Your brother tells me you're handicapped. How long have you been handicapped?" And I'm like, I don't think that's how you talk to anybody who's handicapped. I don't think you just ask them. I think they'll tell you when they're ready. I think they'll talk about it when they feel like they formed a connection with you. Maybe the reason that Laura's so pissy is because people are just walking up to her at random and asking her, "How you feel being handicapable? How you feel being blind?" Like, that seems rude, and I get it's a different era, but I don't know. I think people really wear kids' gloves with Laura. I think that's really frustrating. I think that maybe explains some of her anger too. Not saying that I think the writers were smart enough to like weave that into the storyline, but like, people kind of like talk down to her a little bit. They treat her as very incapable, incompetent almost. They baby talk her almost. Chris is very loving towards her, but it seems like he's like, he kneels down and he's touching her hair and rubbing her face, and it's just very simplified. And I feel like this is a movie that if I was blind, I would sit and I would listen to it and I would be like, this just isn't how people talk to blind people. And if someone talked to me like this, like the way these people are interacting with me, if I heard people talk to me like this, I would be offended. I would be angry. I would be pissed off, and I'd probably be mad like she is. So I wonder if that's supposed to be part of the character's arc, but I really don't want to give the writers that much credit because I don't think they could have dove that deep, you know?
Yeah. Well, there's that whole moment where they're talking out loud about the directions to grandmother's house, and so Laura clearly states, "Oh, no, we take Highway 151 and all the way into Pyro, and that's how we've always gone." Well, apparently, Ricky can hear this, right? He's hearing it in his mind where they're going, because what he hears, she hears, and vice versa. I have to acknowledge the actress that plays Jerry. I have not been able to unleash this type of trivia for a long time. So I'm thrilled to be able to do it. Do you know who this actress is, Roger?
Dial me, Troy.
Eh,
I am on the edge of my seat in anticipation, awaiting what knowledge you have to bestow upon me, because I
oh,
know that it must be something royal,
it
dare I
is
say.
something royal. It is This actress is Laura Herring,
Mm.
who was in Mulholland Drive opposite Naomi Watts. That's probably what she's best known for. But she was also, Roger, Miss USA 1986. She was the first of Miss there was in the late '80s, there was a whole string of 5 Miss Texases in a row that won the Miss USA pageant, and she was the first one, right? So how
Starting off strong
I mean, and
with
she
the
sh
with this performance. She's not
I
the worst part of it.
no, she's fine, she's actually likable.
Right.
They don't she doesn't have a lot to do. It's interesting that, she would take this role, but I guess if you're trying to get into acting, you're gonna take anything, but,
Since you said this, I do wanna bring up one thing that I find very, surprising is if she's a Miss USA, quite an esteemed title, what a respectable title to hold, I'm shocked she was willing to take on a topless scene
yes.
because lest we forget, the lady Vanessa Williams, and I can't remember if how many years prior to this, but what year was Vanessa Williams
Vanessa
crowned?
Vanessa Williams was a Miss America. That was 1983. Yeah,
Right.
she basically got dethroned for having nude pictures of her published in Penthouse. I guess maybe the difference is this was 4 years after Laura Herring was Miss USA.
Yeah.
Also, I mean, but there's also a former Miss USA, Roger, from the '90s, Kelly McCarty, who after her reign got into hardcore porn,
Good for her.
hardcore triple X porn. So,
I love that for
not
her.
all these Miss USAs are as innocent as you think. But yeah, no, I thought the same thing. Like I forgot that she gets topless in this. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. But I think she also gets topless in Mulholland Drive. So um, there's
Shocker, because those little boobies, I mean,
little mosquito bite
no
boobies.
shame on an itty bitty breast at all, but, like, this girl, she's got, like, little niplets, tiny little niplets. We'll get there. We'll get
Yeah.
to the niplets.
So now we cut to Ricky hitchhiking, and he's literally standing on the side of this busy highway, holding his thumb out awkwardly, full hospital gown, full bowl on his head. Someone actually stops and picks him up, and he gets into this van, and the dude is so friendly. He's like, "Oh man, it's Christmas. You want to see why I hate Christmas?" And he pulls out this red sweater. He's like, "Cause my wife wants me to wear this shit." We have to acknowledge that the color red triggers Ricky to kill. The old broad receptionist was wearing that red poinsettia on her outfit. Santa Claus is dressed in red. This man holds up a red sweater. Again, what you say, we don't see him kill. It cuts away, and then it cuts back to we see the dead body laying on the side of the road and Ricky pulling away in his truck, which begs the question, how the fuck does Ricky know how to drive? Being in a
This is severe brain damage. This man has had severe brain damage. He just woke up from a coma. He should not be operating a vehicle. The color red, Troy. Let's talk about that. Was the color red at all important in either of the last 2 films, specifically the second?
no,
Did the color red hold any prominence? I'm grasping. Did it?
no, no.
Okay. So I can see if they said, oh, the visual of Santa Claus makes him snap. It makes him think of his brother. I don't know, whatever nonsense. It's not difficult. These are low hanging fruit here. Like you can make a significantly tighter storyline real easy, but it's the color red. And we don't know why. I mean, I guess maybe because it's the color Santa wears, but it's like so very basic, very, very basic. He sees this poor man's sweater, this poor Puerto Rican gentleman picking up this man on Christmas fucking Eve wearing a bowl on his head. You think this man's not gonna fucking slaughter you the moment he gets in the vehicle? Within seconds. this man is dispatched. Like, it does not take much for Ricky to kill this man, take his fucking vehicle, and drive away. Again, this is structured to be a kill sequence. Like, this is specifically, this man is introduced for 10 seconds so he can be killed violently, and then we don't need to explore it any further. But you're not going to show the death. Why? The last two films featured guys in Santa Claus costumes, massacring people, killing nuns. These are not films known for being tame. Axe murdering Santas. Why are you choosing to give me this sanitized violence? It just doesn't make any sense. It's truly the greatest Achilles heel of this film.
Yeah. Well, and then the next scene, I guess, gives us probably the most extreme gore effect that we see through the entire film, and it's really nothing. It's at a gas station where the attendant, this poor fucker working on Christmas Eve, gets a call from Kathy, his girlfriend, and while he's talking to her, the service bell rings, and he tells her, "Don't hang up because I want you to talk dirty to me again like you did last night." So he puts the phone down, grabs his Santa hat, which is red, goes outside, and guess who it is? It's Ricky. He never returns, and instead you hear Kathy on the phone saying, "Where are you? Hello? Are you coming back? I know you're there. Please come back. I want to talk dirty to you. Oh, come, my panties. My panties are getting wet, just waiting for you."
My panties are getting wet, just waiting for it. I'm convinced this gal's still talking to that phone to this very day,
Mhm.
waiting for him to come back. He never does, though. He never comes back to finish that sexy, erotic voiceover. Imagine being that woman. Who do you think that woman
Yeah.
is? That's her credit. Sexy voice on the other end of the phone line talking about wet panties.
But yeah, now we meet Granny. So Granny's preparing cookies. She's basting a turkey. She's doing all this stuff to prepare for Chris and Laura. But she realizes she's out of butter. And this is the most stereotypical grandmother you can imagine. I mean, the white hair in a bun, the glasses, the dress. This is like Granny Clampett here. Now I have a question. So that we go back to a gas station. Is this supposed to be the same gas station
I had
that,
the same fucking question.
because it seems like it's supposed to be, but then that doesn't make any sense because there was only one. It looks like the same. They pull up, looks like the exact same gas station. They go inside, but there's a different attendant.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm like, wait, where did this? He did not know his partner got murdered, and we have Kathy wanting her panties wet in the other room. I don't get it. And Chris uses the payphone to call Granny and tells Granny we're only about 10 minutes away. And she's like, can you stop and get me a couple sticks of butter? And I was like, okay, maybe this isn't the same gas station. But then as they pull away, Roger, it cuts to that attendant's decapitated head sitting on the desk next to the phone as Kathy's still chattering away. So that does signify that this is the same gas station, but like how? When there's a different attendant? I was like so fucking confused.
I was wondering if maybe that guy was working in the auto repair shop or something like that. I was like, is this a bigger building with multiple areas? Because yeah, that really threw me off. And the way it's edited, when it cuts back to show his head, it feels like they've got to be outside of that building. But it really, much like everything else about this film, feels very disjointed, very disconnected. The headshot's okay. It's literally just the actor, I'm assuming, with his head through a table. He does a good dead face. The TV is playing. It's very brief. But again, the actual death itself completely happened off camera. It's my biggest issue, and the reason I'm going to keep beating it over the head is if you want to have a reasonably tame film, that's fine. If you don't want to show an axe busting through a chest, okay, show the attack. Show the struggle. That's what a slasher is. Show the initial grab. I don't know. They do whatever they can to avoid showing those things. And it's really, really upsetting, especially once we get like to the grandmother's house and you're thinking you're going to get some really big moment with her because they start developing this angle around this time period now that we've met her. They start developing this through story that the grandmother is also psychic. But you only get one line about it from her, and it's her predicting the phone is gonna ring when Chris is calling. And she's like, phone's gonna ring. And then the fucking phone rings and she's like, oh, elderly grandmother dialogue. Like, oh, I love you so much. Bring me butter. Like, as you do. And I gotta say, this film's fucking horrible, but that turkey sure looks fucking delectable. A luscious, moist turkey. But at the hands of this woman, I'm sure anything she crafts is delicious because she's very cliche. But I was like, cool, okay, like at least we can build up this generational psychic storyline, this aspect that's passed down through her lineage. And again, you get a glimpse of that, but this grandmother is so underdeveloped and makes such weird choices before she inevitably dies that like it just doesn't seem important. It seems like something that they choose to almost downplay, and that's really a big flaw in her character. It should have been thoroughly more explored. That psychic relationship she has with her granddaughter and the relationship in general, the loving relationship she has with her granddaughter, that should have been explored further, don't you think, Troy?
Well, yeah, but the my whole problem is this grandma's supposed to be psychic, but she can't predict what's coming to her. And I also have a problem with the fact that Ricky gets to this house that gets to grandma's house way before they do. Like way before they do. And he left the hospital like he had to hitchhike, he's had to stop at a gas station and kill somebody, but he's still able to get there. I'm thinking at least an hour before they do because he has a whole fucking meal, fucking gift exchange with this fucking grandma. So yes, okay, so grandma's doorbell rings, she answers it, and Ricky is there on their doorstep, looking like a fucking goofball, stocking cap, half covering the bowl on his head, but you can still tell there's something on his head. What does she do? She invites this motherfucker in. Like, what? What?
Get it, ma'am. You are good-hearted, you are kind, you've got a picture of Martin Luther King over your fireplace. Did you catch that, Troy?
Oh, I
She has
did.
a picture of Martin Luther King. God bless her, because normally old people are weird and racist. Not this gal. Heart of gold, this one, for the 10 seconds we get to know her, letting this random bull-headed man who can't speak anything, can't say any words to her, she lets him into her home. She starts feeding him. And she does say, she's like, my granddaughter's handicapped as well. So I'm like, again, with just bringing up people's disabilities casually, which I find very offensive, but at least it's coming from a good place with this old woman. She cares about people with disabilities. She wants to feed this handicapped gentleman and take care of him. But I would just think, like, on first impression, seeing this man, my first instinct wouldn't be, "Let me help him." It would be, "Oh," it would be fear, it would be scared. But he's not violent until he sees red. I guess he's supposed to be somewhat restrained until he sees the color red. I don't know, to me, Troy, it just seems like he's killing people willy-nilly, like,
Mm.
red or not. Eventually, he's just killing people.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. Especially towards the end of the film when he that's his whole goal is to kill them all, and there's not a peep of red in sight. So we go back to the hospital where there are reporters now reporting on the brutal murder of two people, including the receptionist. We are introduced to this detective character who becomes also a prominent character who's grilling the doctor about if Ricky was in a coma for 6 years, why is he now up killing people? And the doctor mentions, well, Billy Caldwell, he was my patient for so long. And the detective or the lieutenant recognizes the name. He's like, Billy Caldwell, man, he was the Santa Claus killer. He hacked up a bunch of people with an axe. And I'm like, no, that was his brother, Billy. You're getting them mistaken, dude. He's like, I was there. Oh, I popped a dozen rounds into that motherfucker and blew half his head off. And that's when the doctor's like, yeah, but we surgically reconstructed his brain and brought back some of his motor function to jumpstart his memory. I'm like, what? What the fuck?
Oh, how did we get here? Who's reconstructing brains of serial killers? Like, who said this is the guy in general? If you're gonna reconstruct somebody's brain, I'm sorry, if you're gonna take the time to not only reconstruct someone's brain, but then also go out on the limb and cross your fingers and hope and pray that someone's psychic abilities can jumpstart that brain, that seems like a really loose plot. That seems like a really loose theory that you have that that's gonna work in general. Somehow it works. Somehow everything this doctor is working towards works. But if you're going to do this, wouldn't you wanna pick somebody with a brain trauma who's uh, who's not killing people? Wouldn't you go and pick someone in like a coma, or I don't know, who's just in that situation because of a sad accident, a brick fell on them, like in a Final Destination situation, or who is that woman that was in a coma for 20 years? Um,
Terry Schiavo, yeah, and they found
Aren't you gonna find a Terry Schiavo or someone like that who's just unfortunately in a coma or has a brain trauma, and it's like this person deserves a second shot at life. Not Ricky, who killed a bunch of people, and not his brother, who you think he is, Billy. Neither of them are deserving. Whether you got your stories confused or not, neither of these people are good people. Go find somebody who is a good person and rebuild their brain, and then find a blind psychic girl and have her help jumpstart that brain. But not this one. You dug your grave, sir. That's my issue with Dr. Newbury. He's really tempting fate by rebuilding this guy's brain to begin with, let alone getting psychics involved. It just seems like a bad idea, no matter how you paint it.
it's just weird. It's such a weird subplot. That does not belong in a Silent Night, Deadly Night film. It is just so fucking weird. They do get a call at the same time to tell them that there's been a homicide at a gas station, and the doctor is like, Doctor Newberry's like, well, shit. We need to find Laura. He has a connection with her. He's probably after her because he can see what she sees, and you need to find Laura before he does. So it's urgent that they're supposed to try to find Laura. And this comes into I have an issue with this too. Okay. So they know this poor blind woman is minutes away from being killed. Okay, I'm going somewhere with that. We cut back to Ricky at grandma's house. She just fed him a fucking turkey dinner. Um, he sees that photo of Laura on the mantle and he gets up and touches it. And that's when the granny comes in and she's like, oh, that's my daughter. She's handicapped too. And she's going to be here tonight. It's tradition. And then she's like, Roger, she's like, well, let me look under the tree to see if Santa has a gift for you. Who the fuck has random presents wrapped under the tree for strangers that show up at their fucking house?
You never know if Bill Moseley's gonna be showing up with a bowl on his head looking to kill people, and you better be prepared, and if you're going to have a gift, you better wrap it in a color that's not red, because this old gal, she gets what's coming to her, but guess what? You don't fucking see it. Not at all. You don't see anything. Oh my God, I'm so mad. And then another thing, like back with the cops and the lieutenant when they're watching that tape and you hear clear as day, just to move the plot along, you hear Bill Moseley and he's like, Laura, Laura. So you got that. And then you got that fucking one female nurse who's been kind of bobbling around in the background. And the only thing she says the whole movie is, he sees what she sees. He sees what she sees. I'm like, okay, well, we got another character. We can kill this gal off. Let's kill her. Never see her again. You never see her. What about that fucking psychiatrist Laura went to see earlier? Why do we even go there? Why did we need to know more about that? Like, I mean, I don't know. Like, kill him. Why can't we bring him back and kill him? There's all these weird character moments and little plot points that are getting explored that are really, really very, very pointless. They're not going anywhere. And I'm just realizing at this point how much of this movie it devotes to excess instead of focusing on the moments of fear. There's really no scary moments. There's virtually no scary moments in Silent Night, Deadly Night 3. Even the moments that should be scary don't get the time to be scary, but they sure like to give these little random character moments. There's that hot fucking cop that comes in at one point with a Jerry curl, and he's got a couple lines. You never see him again. And it's just, it's very strange how they pace this out. We're about to get into the car bits with the doctor and the lieutenant. And let me tell you, these fuckers are driving for days. These two men are driving for days, or it feels like it.
Well, back to the big issue. The whole death of this grandmother could have been really effective. It could have been like shocking. Nobody wants to see an old grandmother be brutally murdered. But again, this is a Deadly Night franchise. This was a franchise that got picketed and had to be pulled from theaters because of the violence and the depiction of Santa Claus killing people. And now every death so far is a cutaway because she pulls out a present, it's wrapped in red, and then it cuts to the exterior of the house and we just hear her scream. That's it. Granny's done. Chris and company finally get to Granny's house. Again, they're about 2 hours behind fucking Ricky getting there. Laura gets her cane. She heads inside. Basically, what they realize as they get into this house is Granny's not there. Laura immediately senses something's not right. And she says she can sense that a chair is out of place. I mean, she's like, "This chair's in the wrong place." And Jerry's asked Chris, "How does she know that?" And he said, "Well, we grew up in this house. She knows every inch of it." And then Jerry and Chris wander off. They're kissing. Laura sits in the chair and she has a vision of Granny where she's like, "Granny, I feel you. Are you here?" Nothing. So Chris and Jerry come back into the room and again, nobody is listening to Laura. Again, isn't doesn't Chris know that she's psychic, right? To the point where he's telling girls that he's dating my sister's psychic. So obviously he knows it, he believes it. She is telling him in this scene, Roger, she said it about 5 times that something's wrong. She can sense something's wrong. And he is totally brushing it aside, ignoring her, being like, "Oh, it's fine. It's fine. Jerry, go draw a bath. I'll be up in a minute." I'm like, uh, so you know your sister's psychic, but you're dismissing her when she's telling you she knows something's wrong? Like, what? And now you want your girlfriend to go draw a bath so you can get in the bathtub with her? Okay.
Everything about the psychic angle is so, like, weirdly underplayed, it's almost throwaway. Like, the psychic aspect, I think there would be people who would be, like, mocking it, questioning it. Like, when Jerry meets her, she's literally like, "So, you're psychic and you're blind." Like, "Whoa, what's going on with that?" Like, nobody addresses the fact that she's psychic with any, like, question or, like, curiosity in the sense of this kind of absurd. Who's really fucking psychic? Can you really explain this? Everyone, including the doctor, just are like, "Yep, she's psychic. She's psychic, and there's nothing more to it." It just seems, yeah, it seems really loose.
Well, Jerry does draw the bath, and we get her her nude scene where she gets her little titties out and gets in the bathtub. Chris comes in and joins her. You know, we do get to see him undress. We don't really see much except him just getting in the tub with his hairy chest. And they're joking around. You know, she's like, "I don't think your sister likes me very much." He says, "Oh, it's just gonna take some time for her to warm up to you." This is an odd moment for these two to get in the bath. Were you not thinking the same thing? Like you just get to your grandmother's house. She's not there. You're saying you were telling your sister who's telling you something's wrong. You're like, "Oh, Granny is going to be back any minute." Okay, so if Granny's going to be back any minute, why are you naked in the bathtub with this random broad you brought to your grandma's house that's never met her before? And the first interaction your grandma's going to have with this gal is you in the fucking bathtub naked with her. It's like so fucking weird. It's like the most inappropriate bath break I've ever seen in a film.
Well, not only that, but your poor blind sister is here. I mean, yes, she knows every inch of the house and can navigate it without issue, apparently. But like, what? You're just gonna leave her sitting sitting down there in the dark, alone, just sitting there, while you and this whore go take this bath together? Like, you're not even dirty. You just drove in a car. You got to the house. There's a turkey on the fucking table. Like, get ready to eat. Get ready to eat. You don't need to be taking no bath. Take it after you have the dinner. I mean, take it separately. You're at your goddamn grandmother's house. Be respectful. Who takes a bath together to begin with? Troy, you tell me, have you ever erotically bathed with anybody? Because I sure as fuck haven't. That's uncomfortable. If I'm in a bathtub, I want to lay, I want to sprawl my fat ass out. I want to lay in the tub. I don't want anyone in there with me. These two are fucking sardining themselves into this old grandmotherly tub on top of each other. It does not look erotic at all.
No, no, not in this small of a bathtub. I mean, I've been in a hot tub, a proper hot tub, I've done that, but not a fucking bathtub in my grandmother's house of all fucking places.
The turkey on the table.
Yeah, it's so weird. It's so fucking weird. Yeah, so now we get the first driving sequence with the doctor and the lieutenant. And they are just a bunch of random stuff about could he be going where she's going? Well, do we know where she's going? And the doctor says, well, yeah, she told me she was going to her grandmother's house in Pyro. Well, do you know the address? No, I don't know the address. It could be. Then the lieutenant's like, well, then it could be anywhere. And the doctor says, no, I have a clue because she brings me oranges all the time. And she told me that her grandmother grows oranges. So the lieutenant gets on the phone, calls somebody and is like, hey, can you check the records in Pyro for an orange grove owned by the last name Anderson? And that's how he got his lead. That's how they're able to figure out where grandma lives. Back at the house, now Laura's watching a movie some movie with this fucking bird picking this guy's eyeballs out. And
Best effects in the film.
right. And Chris and Jerry go out for a walk, and, he's pointing out constellations, and then he ducks behind a fence so that he can jump out and scare her. And then as they're walking, like, we come upon a bunch of houses that are on this property, and she's like, "Whose houses are these?" And he's like, "Oh, well, these are where the orange pickers live here." I'm like, "Wait, okay. I did not realize it was that fucking big of an orange orchard, but apparently it is, to the point where you have people living on your property just to pick the oranges." And Jerry's like, "Well, maybe Granny's in there. Let's go look." So they go knock on all these houses, and of course, nobody answers, although there's a dog barking in one. So I'm wondering, like, did somebody just leave this poor dog in this house? Where are these people?
It's very weird seeing all these houses. They're like 3 steps away. It makes us feel like they try to explain it away saying that they travel for the season, but it feels like it's a situation where they could, like, run to any of these locations and get help. It feels like there would be people nearby. It doesn't feel desolate. It doesn't really feel like they're in the middle of nowhere. All the houses are decorated. It just feels like too active to make it feel like it's secluded.
I needed a chase scene through this orange orchard, and like I said, one of them, they go knock on the door of one of them. There's a dog barking inside.
Yeah.
So obviously, did the
Well,
people go on
yeah.
vacation and leave the dog in this house by itself?
There's lights on, like,
Yes,
the porch lights are on, it feels active. Yeah, it doesn't feel like they're just, like, out in the middle of nowhere. It doesn't help the environment at all. You mentioned the driving. I think this is one aspect that we're gonna fly through because one of my biggest upsets with this film is, like, at this point you said this earlier, now that we're starting to wander the orchard and see these houses and get back into the grandmother's house, like, at this point, things start to pick up in that sense of the storyline. But at the weirdest points, they decide to keep jumping back to the doctor and to the lieutenant. And a lot of these moments they start sharing together are just these two older men having men's conversation about their jobs, their careers, how they approach them, their viewpoints on life. I don't fucking know. Things that don't matter to the storyline. I'd say 80% of the things they're talking about are just random jabbering that doesn't hold any importance. It really doesn't mean anything. These are not the characters I need to see develop. I don't need to know more about the lieutenant. Maybe he's one of the, I don't know, the bigger names you had involved, and he had a contractual obligation that he demanded a certain amount of time on camera, something like that. Because his character does not warrant the amount of screen time they give him. And meanwhile, back at the house, once they come back from this stroll and they get back inside, I feel like this is really what we've been waiting for. This is the storyline we're looking to follow. And it seems like they give both storylines equal amount of screen time, and it doesn't feel it should be that way. I want to see more of what's happening to these kids at the grandmother's house now that their lives are in danger. And they just keep cutting away from it at the wrong times.
Well, they cut away from it to so that we can hear them have a conversation, Roger, about getting car phones, literally. The car phones. The lieutenant is asking the doctor, "Hey, have you had one of these installed yet?" And he's like, "No." And he's like, "Oh, you should, you should." And it's this whole conversation. He's like, "Hey, if you want to jump on my plan, I get $100 off my cell phone bill." I guess when this was 19, I mean, gosh, having a car phone in 1980, whatever year this is, I guess you're way ahead of your time. But I don't need a whole conversation about this. Yeah, and go back at the house, things are picking up because Chris is telling Lori she needs to give Jerry a chance and she needs to be more tolerant. And she apologizes and she says, "Well, I understand that, but I've been telling you, something isn't right. Where the hell is Granny?" And they go downstairs just as Jerry comes back in the house. I don't know where the fuck she was. And she asks Chris if he moved his car because it's not there anymore. So him and Jerry go back outside to look for it. Laura is inside alone, and I guess she gets this overwhelming psychic feeling, and she goes to the window and, like, puts her hand on the window because, I mean, she's supposed to be blind. And Ricky is outside staring back in at her, and she senses this and she screams. She runs to the front door just as Chris and Jerry come back in. And they're like, "Something isn't right. We found my car trashed in the orange grove." And she says, I want to go. We just need to get out of here. Let's walk to the highway." Jerry's like, "No, let's call the cops. Phone is dead. The line has been cut." And then blind Laura looks over at the shelves and says, "My picture's gone."
I mean,
Okay.
she's a sidekick. So if that's If that's the least of my concerns here, I guess I'm fine with it. Her noticing her portrait's gone, she's a psychic. Doesn't make sense. What does at this point? My biggest issue with how they're handling things is there's a complete lack of fear or need to get to safety immediately. Like this brother, Chris, and his girlfriend, Jerry, seem much too casual and understated about the fact that their cars flipped over in an orange grove. Who's fucking flipping cars over?
Mhm.
Fucking Skinny McGugan with the bowl on his head can flip a car? How the fuck's he doing that? How is he flipping cars? As far as I know, he doesn't have superhuman strength, but he's flipping fucking cars over. I don't know. He's punching through doors here in a second, real easy. So I guess he does have superhuman strength. But I'd be running around like a chicken with my head cut off. I'd be screaming. I'd be like, my car's flipped over. The fucking the phone line is cut. Jerry holds it up. She's like, "Look at this." And the phone line's cut. And it just seems like everybody's just sitting there in silence, like, okay. Let's give grandma 15 more minutes. This is okay. Like, no,
Yeah.
people need to panic at this point. Panic.
Was when especially when Jerry holds the phone line up, that is the point where I would be freaking out, and she's like, "Oh, look, like, no big deal, it's no big deal, you just found a car overturned, and now you're finding the phone line cut," and you're like, "Okay, there's no let's rush to get the fuck out of here, let's do what we can." Nothing, yeah, I think that's one of the biggest issues here in this the final moments of this film is nobody seems really that bothered by what's going on, even as it's again, I keep saying this word, but it's fucking weird. It's almost like surreal how people act in this film. Yeah,
It is.
the doctor and the lieutenant get to the gas station. They're checking out the crime scene. The doctor calls out to Ricky. He's like, "Ricky, can you hear me? I know I should have left you alone." And the lieutenant is like, "Hey, doctor, I got a call. I got a match on the Anderson Orange Grove. It's 15 minutes up the road." He's like, "We got to get there. We got to hurry. We got to get there before he gets to her." He's like, "We got to go. We got to go." Which makes what he does on the way there. I'm like, "What?" Like 15 minutes. You can't wait 15. You can't hold it for 15 minutes. Okay, you know what I'm
Piss
talking
at the
about.
fucking gas station. I know what you're talking about. Go at the gas station. There's a bathroom. You're in a hurry. There's a man with a bowl on his head killing people.
Relieving the reptile is more important than saving this poor blind girl from being butchered, apparently. But we'll get there. Cut back to Laura. She's like, "It's him. I know who it is." And Chris is like, Who are you talking about?" And all she says, talk about vague, you know. Sylvia Brown gives more details than this girl. She's like, "He was a little boy, and then something happened." That's like every little boy. I was a little boy. Something happened. Roger, you were a little boy. Something happened. This isn't explaining why he's after us trying to butcher us. Like, give some more detail, girl.
Pick this girl up as the psychic. How are they like, this gal is clearly a psychic? Because she has not given me any psychic anything. And like, give me a very detailed description of what happened. But as you pointed out earlier, the writers don't fucking know what happened. They don't know. They're just grabbing random B-roll from the old movie. They're just cutting in flashbacks, willy fucking nilly. They don't care what they're throwing in there. But what they need to sit down and actually write a script about it, they don't know shit. And it's very evident in this final act that they don't know what happened at the events of the last two films.
Yeah, and in the meantime, Jerry's like backing up against the door. And she's like, "I don't know what's going on here," but and then suddenly Ricky's hand just busts through this fucking door. So this comatose bullhead has strength now to punch through a wooden door, and he grabs Jerry by the throat and he's choking her. Laura's reaction, even Chris's reaction, but especially Laura's, could not be more muted, unbothered. She's like, "Oh, it's no use." Chris just like, "Oh shit." At least he does rush into the kitchen, get a knife that he jabs through Ricky's arm, and so Ricky lets poor Jerry go. And drops her, and he's like, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" And just fucking Laura's just over there, bothered as possible. She's like, "Oh, it's not her he's after." She's like, "It's no use."
And also is because he fucking kills her eventually, so she is in danger. What I thought was really weird here is this is a moment, this is a startle. When it happens, when he reaches through this door made of paper, apparently, and grabs this woman, it does make you jump, but there's no sound embellishment. There's no score. There's no audio to enhance it. So it makes for Chris's response, shit, really flat. It feels extremely flat. And this is a moment that I think you'd be building it up, you'd be adding music, you'd be adding wood splintering, you'd be making it sound really wild, you'd have Laura fucking screaming her blind head off, and they just don't. They just choose to keep it, like you said, very, like, muted. Laura just sits there, like you said, almost comatose, very quiet, and then even after Julie gets up, like, he helps her up, and I'd be like, "Get the fuck away from the door. There's a man busted through doors, and, like, it's no problem. This guy's just coming through doors. Get away from the doors." And they just, like, stand up, and they're like, "Oh, okay, like, well, gotta figure out what we're gonna do now. Let's go back into the house and, like, figure it out." I would just be like, "Holy fuck, we need to get the fuck out of here immediately."
Yeah, there is no urgency. And now we go back to the car, the doctor and the lieutenant. The doctor is like, "What are you going to do when you find him?" And he says, "Well, ideally, we would like for him to surrender. But if he doesn't, we might have to go an alternative route." And the doctor's like, "Oh, so there's a chance you'll kill him?" And Lieutenant's like, "Well, there's always that chance." The doctor says, "Well, you can't just trap him? And why do we have to kill him?" And the doctor says, "Well, something tells me you care more about your experiment than you do innocent people being killed." And the doctor goes on this rant about how nobody is innocent, that Ricky isn't a killer. Like hell he is. He's killed numerous people. He's like, he is the way to stop killers. And then he's like, it's like using snake venom as an anecdote towards a snake bite. And the lieutenant's like, "Well, that's what you don't understand. Your job is to study snakes. Mine is to stomp them." Now, here's the thing. They know that this poor fucking woman is in danger. That every second counts. The lieutenant's like, "Oh, well, speaking of snakes, I gotta pull over and relieve the reptile." So what?
Who says that?
This poor girl, her life's in danger. You're only 15 minutes away. You can't hold your piss for 15 minutes?
There are so many movies, horror movies, that with a cop subplot where there's a moment where someone takes out a portable siren and they throw it on the top of their car, and you see their car turn around and speed off. Think of Judy in Scream 5
Yeah.
when she finds out her son is in danger, and she's like speeding and she's crying and Ghostface is taunting her. I want that level of panic at this point, because you're in the final 15 minutes of this movie. Someone needs to care about what's happening. This is not a casual moment. For this fucker, who is a man of the law, to pull over on the side of the road to take a piss is the worst possible decision he could make at this point in the game. There is no time left. Dude is breaking through doors. He's there. He's at that grandmother's orange plantation with multiple properties on it, killing people. And he pulls over, he pisses. Dr. Newbury does the only smart thing he does in the whole film, because other than that, he's reconstructing the brains of serial killers and having psychic blind girls restart them. He takes the car and drives away. And the lieutenant's like, "What? What are you doing?" I'm like, "You good. That's exactly what you should have done, because people's lives are in danger. Piss your pants for all I care. Do your job. Do your job, sir. You are a man of the law. Blind girls are in danger at the hands of serial killers with bowls on their heads. This is crazy.
Yeah, I do. Okay.
What is happening?"
Yeah, the doctor does take the car and speed away. I don't necessarily think it was for him to save Laura. I think he does it because he doesn't want Ricky killed, not because he really cares about Laura. He doesn't want the lieutenant to kill Ricky. That's why he's asking him, "Are you going to kill him? Please don't do that." So he leaves the lieutenant there so he knows that the lieutenant's not going to kill Ricky. It kind of gives me, I'm wondering if David Gordon Green was a fan of this film, because it's kind of the same twist that we get in the Halloween 2018 remake, remember? Or the sequel. Kind of the same thing where the doctor doesn't want Michael Myers to be killed, and he actually leads Michael Myers to Laurie's house, and he leaves the sheriff. Like, doesn't he like stab the sheriff or something? I haven't seen that for a while.
Mhm.
Kind of the same
Yeah.
vibe here. I think the doctor leaves the lieutenant so that Ricky doesn't get killed. But he does rush there. In the meantime, Chris comes downstairs with an old shotgun that he found of their granddad's, and all three of them head out in the darkness. Um, and fucking Laura keeps stopping because she senses something. She keeps stopping, and Chris is like, "You're right." She's like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." And they keep going further into the darkness when all of a sudden, fucking Ricky jumps off the roof of the barn and lands on top of Chris, knocking the gun away. There's a struggle. Neither one of these two, especially Jerry, I was like, "Are you Jerry must not give a rat's fucking ass about this dude," because her reaction to him being stabbed because he is stabbed is like literally like there's no reaction. I mean, they run back into the house. We see poor Chris stab, blood shooting out of his mouth. When they get back into the house, first like he's dead, isn't he? And in the most like casual way possible, Jerry's like, yeah. And then fucking what's her name? Laura gets this big old grin on her face. And then she's like, two peas in a pod. Where he's all I had. She's saying this while she's grinning. And Jerry's like, oh, I'm sorry. I loved him too. Well, it doesn't seem like it. Neither one of you tried to help him. You don't seem too shook up about this at all. Neither of them.
Someone just needs to get a fucking stick or a bat to that fucking bowl that's not impenetrable glass. That man's brain is exposed. You could take this man down pretty fucking easy, man. But somehow, this fucker's immune to injury or any form of damage. I mean, I really think this man, fresh out of a coma, should be in a fragile state. Taking this man who has full muscle atrophy, is that what it is? When your muscles
Yeah.
don't work after, you're in a coma for years, you can't even walk. I just saw Kill Bill, the whole bloody affair. Remember how she's fucking dragging herself around, taking hours to get her toes to move? This fucker's wobbling around, getting on roofs, jumping off roofs onto people and stabbing them. I just think this man should be easier to defeat. But then, yeah, so Chris gets stabbed in the neck, mind you. This comes back into play. This does not seem like he should be recovering from this injury. They go inside, and now these two gals are forced to go up against this guy alone. And they do about as well as you would anticipate. Like, neither of these girls are really capable of anything. I was hoping and praying that Jerry would step up to the fucking plate and prove to be a badass because I don't dislike her. She's a fucking Miss USA title holder. I really thought she would kick some ass, but no, these girls are very disposable. Like, these girls are rather weak and frail, and that's disappointing.
Mm, yeah. Well, Jerry gets dispatched like so quickly too. It's like
Yeah.
there's no build up. In the meantime, though, the doctor, Dr. Newberry, does pull up to the scene of Ricky on top of Chris, and he gets out of the car and actually like greets Ricky and like starts playing the recording of Laura's voice and is like, "She woke you up, didn't she?" And Ricky walks towards him and holds out his hand, and the doctor takes his hand like they're friends. And then Ricky immediately plunges the fucking knife into the doctor's gut. And he's like, Ricky, he's acting like surprised. Like, what did you think was going to happen?
Honestly, you think this guy's just gonna come along and casually leave after going through all this effort to get here and kill these people? You think that he's just gonna, like, agree to get into this vehicle? No, he's holding a fucking bloody blade. He's gonna kill you, and he does it immediately. It goes exactly as you would anticipate. But I am thankful because I do think Dr. Newberry is fucking stupid. His whole psychic plan makes no sense. I'm sick of hearing him talk about it. So I'm glad he's dead, but at least with something like this, like, you could have drawn this moment out. It's like the Dr. Loomis counterpart, if you will. Like, it's been building and building, and this guy's been talking and talking and talking about it. I would think they would make this final moment of the two of them connecting just have more punch to it. The moment he gets to Ricky, Ricky stabs him in the gut. It feels like lazy writing. It really feels lazy.
Yeah. Well, and then back at the house, the girls are at least like they do push that fucking shelf up against the door that's already destroyed, like, that ain't gonna do anything, and then all of a sudden, like, he just crashes through the fucking window. Like, crashes through the window, he's perfectly fine, they run upstairs, and Laura's, like, under the bed, she's like, "I know there's another gun up here, grandpa has another gun up here." Jerry's like, "Oh, well, I'll go in the other room and look for it." It's like,
And then
"What?"
she's casually strolls.
Yes. Well,
She saunters into the next
not
room.
before I Laura does apologize. She's like, "Jerry, I just wanna say I'm sorry for being mean to you." And they hug,
At
and
least we got that.
yeah, and then Jerry goes into the other room, and she ducks under the bed and is immediately pulled under the bed. That's all we see. Um, Laura decides she's gonna wander into this other bedroom, and she's like, "I can sense you in here," and she sits on the bed, And then she reaches over and we see dead Jerry. We didn't see Jerry get killed, another off-screen kill. She's just laying on the bed, her chest all bloody, which I think, again, we should have saw this character. This character should have been able to put up more of a fight. We should have got a chase scene. We should have got something with this character. But he's behind her and he whispers, and she approaches him. And this is real weird. Like, she touches his face and she's smiling. And then all of a sudden she just screams.
This blind girl should be significantly more panicked, especially now that she's alone in this fucking farmhouse. Even if she knows every inch of it, she just should be more scared because she's not scared. I'm not scared. And I want to be scared when I'm watching a horror movie. But she's very serene. She calmly, serenely walks over to him and gently touches his face. And then she touches that bowl and she just screams and she takes off running. And like, God damn it. This the girl, she's blind, but she's sprinting. She's sprinting through doors. She's running down steps. I would want her to be much more careful descending these staircases. But you know what? At least it's showing that she's capable in this space. I guess if there's one credit to give her is like, yes, she's blind, but at least she's like making a run for it, taking herself down into the basement, locking herself down there, trying to arm herself. She's trying, but she keeps failing. Like, give the girl a win. Give her something. Let her do something that proves her to be capable of truly defending herself. Everything that leads up to the final moment with her and him, it's technically an accident. He ends up falling onto her, just to be clear. I know I'm jumping ahead a little bit. But before that, the lead up, like she arms herself and then she just goes running into the night, running into the darkness, runs past him. He grabs her. Like she doesn't succeed at anything she attempts. And I really like, I don't know, it makes her feel like kind of a joke. And to have like a blind female protagonist come off as so pathetic, it just feels very dated. I mean, it feels really just playing up the blindness as a disability, but also as a a major flaw that she can't overcome. Like the whole goal here should be to want to see her prove herself capable, in spite of despite that being something that she lives with, that she coexists with, her blindness, she should be able to rise above and still succeed, and it just doesn't feel like she's given the chance to ever do that. She never becomes greater than her weaknesses, and that's a shame.
Yeah, it's definitely like I see that I got a lot of like I think they really wanted to. There's moments that reminded me of the movie the Audrey Hepburn movie, Wait Until Dark. Have you seen Wait Until Dark where Audrey Hepburn's blind and she's being pursued by the guy that wants his drugs back, and at least she
Mm-mm.
fights back because there's the same moment. So okay, we'll get there. She runs down into the basement, and there's a moment she has a vision of her grandmother that I could have used without because now the grandmother's like sitting in a chair in the basement, like picking celery or
Snap peas.
yeah, something, and she's like, "You gotta use your powers." It reminded me of the grandmother in fucking Poltergeist 2 telling Carol Ann about her power. You gotta use your powers. Nobody can hurt you if you use your powers. You must accept them and learn how to use them. Concentrate. Use your mind like a light, and nobody will hurt you. And Laura's like, Granny, I can hear you. You're here. I can feel you near me. And she goes into the darkness, and unfortunately, she bumps into Granny, who's hanging from a rafters in the basement. She screams as loud as she fucking can, alerting Ricky where she's at, falls backwards. Ricky starts to come down the steps, and this is kind of what I'm talking about. There's the same moment in Wait Until Dark where Audrey Hepburn's character takes a hammer or something, and busts the lights out so that the villain can't see her, and is like, "Oh, now we're even." Well, Laura does the same thing. She busts the light out, except it's still fucking light as hell in the basement because the basement door's open and the light from upstairs is coming right down into the basement. He sees her right away.
The thing I want to note here is the moment where she sees the grandmother, she falls backwards. Very lackluster reveal. The grandmother should have been gutted. She falls backwards and all these boxes fall on her. And she also gets that like mop stick
Yeah.
that ends up being her weapon. You clearly see someone's hands push the box and throw the stick down. Like you see a crew, a PA person actually push everything. And you could try to play it off and say, oh, it's the grandmother's hands. No, it is a man's hand actively caught on camera. It's definitely an error. I don't know if you caught that, but I was like, wow, man, this movie is sloppy. Like continuity, just overall, there's so many moments here, both storyline and just execution that you kind of see the flaws come out. And this ending just feels very haphazard. She feels extremely pathetic.
Yeah, yeah, she does get that broken stick as a weapon, right? And but she is still like you're saying, she's helpless with it. She's just kind of like flailing it around to the point where he grabs her by her fucking neck, Roger, and he's choking her. And he would have killed her with if it weren't for who showing up out of the fucking blue after just getting stabbed in the throat. Fucking Chris with a gun, and he's like, "Hey, bobblehead!" And Ricky turns around and Chris shoots him in the chest and he flies back. Like, wow, first of all, how did Chris survive? We saw him get stabbed in the neck, spitting up blood. There's not a lick of blood on him now.
Well, he's got blood coming out of his mouth. Like he does. He looks like he bled out from his mouth, but that kind of a wound is going to kill you. You shouldn't be able to just get up, and if he's getting up, he should at least be feeling it.
Mhm.
He should be weak. Dude standing there with the gun, he blasts him and he cracks a one-liner at that. He never got stabbed in the neck. What the fuck happened? Where's his injury?
There is no injury. It's just like at the beginning when she gets her arm slit with the scalpel, and you don't see it. The injury just disappears coincidentally. Well, okay, so he gets shot in the chest, but he gets right back up, and he struggles with Chris, and he's able to get the gun, and I guess he chokes Chris with the gun. Literally takes 5 seconds for Chris to die,
Again.
and poor like yeah, and poor Laura has to know what's going on, and she's just laying on the floor whimpering. It's like, "Ooh, ooh."
With that fucking stick, that piece of that stick, just brandishing that fucking stick, that shard of like, it's really sharp. It's very obvious, but it's a big piece of mop pole. And Ricky turns to her and he sees it like the way it's illuminated. It's not hidden. How does this whole moment happen? What actually happens
I
here?
don't know. She says, "Ricky, I'm over here." I don't know if because yeah, she's holding it up. We talked about awkward death scenes in Splatter University. This one is almost as awkward because I don't know what happens. I don't know if she shoves it into him or if he falls on it. I don't know, but somehow this shard of broken mop impales through him. That Roger kills him, but not a shotgun blast to the chest.
It kills him, and it kills him instantly. He just towers over her, and then he just like potato sack flops down on her, and the fucking stick goes through him like butter. She doesn't even, it doesn't even look like she shoves it into him. He just like slumps onto her, and all of a sudden it's coming out of his back. And that's it. And just like that, like the Sex and the City sequel,
Mm.
just like that, he's dead. That's the finale. And then the fucking lieutenant comes downstairs. Like all that nonsense, all that buildup, and it led up to that. That's how you're gonna kill him?
It's
Her just laying there with the stick, he's just gonna fucking fall on it? I don't know. I cannot believe that this was the final outcome.
Oh my god, it's so clumsy and yeah. Well, the lieutenant does show up. He does find the doctor though first, who's not dead yet, but is dying. And the lieutenant's like, "Give me a call sometime, doc." He's being real like a dick. "Give me a call sometime, doc." The doctor's like, "Lieutenant, don't be stupid." And he just dies. And I'm assuming he's saying, "Don't be stupid, don't kill Ricky." Like, fuck that. This motherfucker is going to die. But then he goes down in the basement and he finds fucking Laura laying on her brother Chris, saying how much she loves him. Well, she doesn't fucking seem like it. You didn't try to help him once. I understand you're blind, but I mean, at least try to do something. Now we get the ambulances there, the paramedics are there, and you see the paramedics loading Ricky's into the back of the van, and one of them's like, "Oh, with a little luck, we can save this guy." No, what?
Why?
Exactly.
Again? He's killed so many people.
Oh my god. And then Lieutenant gets Laura in the car and asks how she is. Roger, she is chipper as a fucking chipmunk. She's like, "Oh, I'm fine. Oh, I'm good." And he's like,
Smile on her
a
face.
smile on her face. He's like, "I don't know how you did it, but I guess there's a lot of things I don't know." And she looks at him. She's like, "Merry Christmas." And they pull away. And you think that's the end of the movie. If that isn't bad enough, this fucking girl laughing and smiling after her whole family just got butchered. You you get this image, like, it goes black for a minute, and I'm like, "Okay, this is horrible." But then you get the image of Ricky coming on screen, salad bowl on head, now wearing a tuxedo, looking straight into the camera and saying, "And a happy new year."
Where the fuck did he procure that tuxedo,
I
looking like he's straight out of the goddamn Shining. They got the wrong movie for this ending. He hasn't had a line the whole film other than saying Laura 10 times over. And now we're going out and like a shot of him in this goddamn tuxedo, smirking, bowl on his head, and a happy new year. What the fuck are you talking about? You're dead. Or is this you telling me you're still not dead? How is this man not dead? He
oh,
doesn't come back in another one after this. He's done.
I
This storyline is over, right?
I don't know. I think so. I think maybe in part 4, it's hinted that, like, Clint Howard's character is supposed to be Ricky. I haven't seen it forever, so, don't quote me on that, but I remember something about that, or I don't know. That Ricky is mentioned in part 4. I don't fucking know. It doesn't fucking matter. This is this whole thing is just ridiculous. It's just fucking ridiculous. It's so
It's
it's
nonsense.
so lackluster. I have never seen a final girl happier. She's happy as a clam, Roger. Her grandmother, her
Happy as a
brother,
fucking clam.
everyone's dead. She's smiling, beaming. I don't know. I don't know. It's a rough one to get through. It really is. I'm not gonna say I hate it. I'm not gonna say I could never watch it again. Like, it's Christmas time. You want to watch Christmas themed horror films, whatever. Put this on in the background. But I just can't get over the feeling that the filmmakers did not watch 1 or 2, because there's so many inconsistencies. I don't think they know the character of Ricky. They totally mistook Ricky for Billy, and, that's sloppy, and if you're gonna be that sloppy, why the fuck should I care about your movie or what happens in it?
Yeah. It's really, really disappointing, you know? Um, this is a film that I would not revisit unless it was for something like this. It is a chore to get through it. And not only is it horribly written, but it's just the characters, their motivations, the choices that they make, their decisions. There's no like redeeming elements for me at all. You know, at least some films like, oh, like I'll use Splatter University, not a great film, but oh,
Mhm.
Julie, was that her name?
Julie, yeah.
Julie, right? The female lead? Liked her. Like, there's a positive. There's something I could take away from it. Here, like, the cinematography's flat. The locations are bland. The characters are weird. They make horrible decisions. There's no good on screen kills. It makes all of the choices I don't want this film to make. It goes the opposite direction of the way I'd want it to go. Like, there's just nothing I take away from this that brings a smile to my face, which is very disappointing because I love the initial entry. I haven't seen the remake yet, the new one. I'm a fan of the Silent Night, Deadly Night, like the 2000 what, 16, like pseudo remake, like kind of
God.
its own thing, but it has elements that still feel much like a homage to the original film. I don't know much about the new one, but what have you heard? Have you heard anything on this new one yet?
I've heard a few things, that it definitely takes liberties with the story. It's more about him, like, and he's punishing or killing, like, really bad characters. Like in the original Silent Night, Deadly Night, Billy was killing people for doing things like having sex or whatever. He thought that was naughty, but in this one, apparently, it goes much harder. Like, it's like Dexter. I've heard it compared to Dexter. I know there's like some weird twist ending that you're either gonna love or you're gonna hate. So I haven't seen it either. If it's still in theaters this coming weekend, I may hop in and see it. But yeah, yeah. I don't know. This franchise is just so messy, and I know people love it. I know it has its defenders. Um, I just, because 4 and 5 are equally just like they go off the rails. They have nothing to do with anything. Um, but this one, yeah, wow, wow. That's all I can say. If you like this film, folks, please, please, please justify it to us. I don't say justify it, but just let us know why you like this film. What about it? Um, gives you some sense of joy, because I do know that, I posted that I was watching this, and I know we got a couple comments saying, "Oh, I know this is a terrible movie, but for some reason, I like it." Like, what is it about this film? I really want to know. Yeah, I mean, that's all we can say about Silent Night, Deadly Night 3. You better watch out. And I guess there's one more thing we better watch out for before we go, Roger, and that is what your pick is going to be when we record next. Now, guys, keep in mind next week is Christmas and we have obligations. My father is coming. He actually flies in tonight. I'm picking him up here in a couple hours. He'll be with me for Christmas, so we won't have an episode next week, but we will be back the following week. And Roger, you're gonna have to let us know, what are we gonna be back with?
Well, I mean, keep in mind, I'm also going to be going into a surgery.
Ooh.
So I'm going to be bedbound for a couple weeks. So hopefully we'll have an episode out after this before the surgery happens. If not, there may be a couple week hiatus specifically so I can have the surgery. I'm taking 2 weeks of FMLA. I mean, it's been a 2 year coming
Mm.
situation. So let's get it done. But next episode, before I go in for this surgery, I am going to Mexico to Puerto Vallarta for a couple days
Yay.
just to let my hair down before I get bedridden and Troy has to come feed me broth. Um, and I was like, you know what? I want to give myself an experience. I want to watch something that's going to play into this vacation. Um, and I think that this is just kind of the perfect film to watch before heading to Mexico, South America, anything like that, just to give me the heebie jeebies because how often am I gonna be there? Well, in my case, I'm in Puerto Vallarta maybe like 3 times a year, so who am I kidding? But, I feel like touristas is just due time that we cover touristas. Having our organs stolen, if I don't come back from Puerto Vallarta, just know I got some good kidneys, and they
Mm.
come looking
They
for
did
them.
come
So,
looking.
I'm just saying. Have you seen touristas,
Oh,
Troy?
yeah, when it first came out, but it's been forever. I know you've talked about it for a while, so I knew it was coming. So, yeah, I'm happy to it doesn't have Josh Duhamel in it, and
Yeah, and
yeah,
I believe is it Melissa
Melissa
George?
George. I do remember, like,
I
a
like
whole
Melissa
swimming
George.
scene that's pretty intense underwater.
Mm.
Yeah, definitely, I'm excited to check out Turistas. So that'll be a great one to kick off the new year after covering Silent Night, Deadly Night 3 for Christmas. So,
Oh, I can't
yeah,
wait.
guys, so tune in and just be patient with us because, yeah, we're not gonna record next week, obviously, with Christmas week, and then hopefully we can get Teresa's done before Roger's surgery. If not, just be patient with us. We will be back. Check out the Patreon. We'll at least get some stuff up there. Give us that 5-star review. And again, let us know your thoughts on Silent Night, Deadly Night 3.
Yes, let us know. Curious if you have as much commentary on it as I do, because let me tell you, this is one that I can bitch plenty more. So if you're a listener and you want to bitch to me about Silent Night, Deadly Night 3, leave us a comment. I got plenty to say.
Perfect. Well, with that, guys, as always, good night. Thank you for tuning in.
Good night.